All right, next up we got Mark Conrad.
Mark! Mark!
How you doing? Gotta dress it up for me. As I said, I am Mark Conrad. I am an original intent constitutionalist. I believe in state sovereignty and states' rights. I also have very limited public speaking experience. So why am I talking here today? I am, like you, someone who is tired of feeling helpless to ever-expanding, overreaching, and over-regulating government. Someone who knows that is not how it's supposed to be, who's had enough of the attitude, that's the government, what can you do? We the people are the highest office in our self-governance. We can and must take rightful control. I understand that our Constitution was written for us, the people, and the win. See, I'm not a speaker, I'm a reader. I understand our Constitution was written for us, for the people. It is not a mysterious document for scholars or judges, lawyers and politicians. It is ours. We must learn it and to live by it. We cannot have limited government if we continually turn to those in government whenever there's a problem. Government servants will always take the opportunity to expand their authority. By asking our government for help with our problems, we are encouraging that expansion, and we pay for it with increased taxes and decreased liberty. We surrender control of our lives and our independence to the government. Constitutional awareness is a very broad and extremely important topic. We have, for the most part, been improperly taught our own history, and in particular, our founding, and the principles behind our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. The two documents are intimately connected. The Declaration states the reason for our claim of independence and the principles to be established for our self-governance. It states, in part, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the people. The Constitution is a law that we established for the operation of our federal government as determined by the governed. It authorized, through our states, with our consent, for specifically delegated powers to be administered on our behalf. It was drafted to replace the Articles of Confederation to make for a more perfect union. The Constitution is a contract between the states. It established our federal government, its authorities, and its limitations. Our federal government no longer follows the law that is the Constitution or adheres to the principles of the Declaration of Independence. It hasn't for a long time. It is overreaching, it is overbearing, and it is overwhelming the states that created it. We have allowed a federal empire to emerge and to rule over 50 colonies. The legislative branch unconstitutionally delegates its authority to the other branches, as well as to unelected appointed officials in unconstitutional agencies and federal bureaucracies. It is no longer the voice of the people or the states in the federal government, but the messenger to them from federal rulers. Congress works to restrict our rights rather than to protect them, and to change the structure of the government by writing law rather than through amendment. The executive branch has become more king-like as it assumes the powers and accepts authority illegally delegated to it. These appropriated powers are both supported and criticized based on political party. There is no attempt to check this expansion, as each party wants to have that power for itself. The judicial branch has become activist through legislating from the bench. The Supreme Court has become the self-proclaimed arbiter of the Constitution and all things constitutional. It has become the oligarchy that Thomas Jefferson warned us about. In a letter to William Jarvis in September of 1820, he wrote, "The Constitution has erected no such single tribunal, knowing that to whatever hands confided with corruptions of time and party, its members would become despots." We must gain more than an understanding of the United States Constitution. Each state has its own constitution. Understanding your own state's constitution is just as, if not more important, to the restoration of our republic. We must learn our rights, our role in government, and most importantly, the actual limited role of the federal government in our lives. We must learn the true role of the states as creators of the federal government to be the ultimate check on federal authority. James Madison said in Federalist 45, "The powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite. The powers reserved to the several states extend to all the objects which in the ordinary course of affairs concern the lives, liberties, and properties of the people, the internal order, improvement, and prosperity of the state. The only way to restore the proper role of our federal government is to restore the proper role of our states." Connecticut was one of the first colonies to stand against tyranny and fight for liberty. One of the original 13 states to declare independence from the states of Great Britain. Connecticut is now a bastion of big government and socialist policies. We have become subservient and under federal control. Connecticut was the home of Roger Sherman at the time of our founding. He was a representative of Connecticut at the Philadelphia Convention and was instrumental in the ratification of the Constitution. It is Sherman's stated belief that no laws bind the people but such as they consent to be governed by. The contrast of a representative of Roger Sherman's character to those who claim to represent Connecticut today is extreme. We now have 2 U.S. senators and numerous representatives who are criminal in their continuing efforts to regulate our right to keep and bear arms in direct opposition to the protection of the Second Amendment. Furthermore, they support red flag laws which not only violate the protections of the Second Amendment, but the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th as well. From warrantless, unreasonable search and seizure, lack of due process, denial of the right to face one's accuser, and to a trial by the jury of one's peers. Our false representatives fight to oppose our duly elected president and promote programs and policies outside the delegated authority of the federal government. Our own state government is overreaching in the control exerted on our lives, businesses, finances, and communities. The state has undue influence on local education, budgets, land management, social programs, to name a few. The state of Connecticut has passed the largest tax increase since the income tax for the 3rd time since 2011. These are tax increases with spending increases and do not address the excessive waste at our state government. It is up to us to hold our representatives responsible for reasonable and appropriate application of the city's money, the citizens' money that they collect through taxes. The state has passed unconstitutional gun and red flag laws that violate the Constitution of the state of Connecticut. In Section 15 of our Constitution, it is stated, "Every citizen has the right to bear arms in defense of himself and the state." There is no limitation on what type of arms or the capacity of said arms. Therefore, any restriction is unconstitutional. Section 7 of our Constitution states, "The people shall be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and possessions from unreasonable searches or seizures, and no warrant to search any place or to seize any person or thing shall issue without describing them nearly as may be, nor without probable cause supported by oath or affirmation." No provision is made to supersede this, not for the concern of a person's well-being or a suggested fear for the safety of others. The Constitution of the state of Connecticut declares in Section 2, "All political power is inherent in the people, and free governments are founded by their authority and instituted for their benefit. They have at all times an undeniable and indefeasible right to alter their form of government in such a manner as they may think expedient. It is up to us, the people of Connecticut, to stand up to the violations of our Constitution and to the violations against the U.S. Constitution being supported by our misrepresentatives to the federal government. The states, as creators of our federal government, must be the final check on federal overreach. The people must ensure the states regain control of our federal government. So why am I speaking today? Who should I be waiting for? It is our state, and we must take rightful control of it. What we have now is not the limited federal government that we stipulated in America's highest law. We must work through our states to restore the limited federal government that we designed. We did not get here overnight, and it will take time to restore what we have lost and given away. We must educate ourselves and begin the work of restoring our liberty. We did not get here overnight. It will take time to restore that. I said that already, and it's true. But don't be discouraged. Take your example from Benjamin Franklin. He began his fight for liberty at age 16, writing as Silence Dogood. He was 81 when he served in the Constitutional Convention. The fight to hold to liberty, fight to hold to original intent was already taking place in the 1820s, expressed by Thomas Jefferson, who said, "The recent recall to first powers will, I hope, be heard and obeyed." He appealed to his contemporaries, yet be not weary of well-doing, let the eye of vigilance never be closed. We have wearied, we have let our eyes close, and now is the time for renewed vigilance. We must become involved in any way possible, from educating ourselves and sharing what we learn, to attending rallies and events, to contacting your representatives, writing testimony for and or against legislation, to the people we choose to represent us, even to holding public office ourselves. We must speak out now. We must act now. As Patrick Henry said, should I keep back my opinions at such time through fear of giving offense, I should consider myself as guilty of treason towards my country and to an act of disloyalty towards the majesty of heaven. Thank you.